Got Mark once again with us, joining us. And Mark, thank you so much. Look, first and foremost, a couple of scares last week inside New Zealand Rugby headquarters. How has that played out over the week?
Oh, pleased to, and thanks, and good evening, Jeff. But I'm pleased to say that the two staff members involved have tested negative, and everyone's thrilled with it. Obviously at New Zealand Rugby, and ploughing ahead now and getting back into work.
This is the office, is it, for you, for the foreseeable future? The white walls, you've set yourself up. I've got a feeling maybe you've been there for a number of hours today.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time looking into a screen, to be fair to say, stuck inside this very tiny room, and occasionally I was actually smiling, listening to Batesy before talk about trying to work while you've got, 3 kids running around, which is my situation at home, which is in some ways fantastic that I'm getting to see them at the moment, but they do tend to walk in at the most inopportune times.
Robert JK, I hope you've been checking the mirror. Any grey hairs coming through yet? You're looking pretty good so far, but, very, very stressful times, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it is challenging, JK, but as we talked about last week, we're fighting for the sport's survival in New Zealand at the moment around rugby, and if you can't get motivated and excited by, that challenge and the opportunity that sits beyond that in time, then we'll never be motivated, will we? So obviously challenging. Obviously, it's creating, anxiety through the game at all levels, from our clubs and community level, through our entire pathway into our community game and into our professional ranks. But we've got great people working on this. We're very fortunate to have huge amount of stakeholder support and engagement, be it our provincial unions, our Super Rugby clubs, or our players at all levels. This is, in a strange sort of way, this is bringing the game together. And we just have to take a little bit more time, as Bernie was saying earlier, to work through understanding some of the more information we need to gather. And then we'll be in a position, hopefully early next week sometime, to start making some decisions and giving a bit more direction and certainty to people, which, as we all know, when there is uncertainty, people want clarity and a real sense of direction.
Robbo, so talking about the government, I know you're going to talk to them, but last year we had an incredibly successful World Cup. I think $200 million was put in the bank from World Rugby. I mean, you're going to be making that phone call. Surely they're going to look at the teams that are involved and go, well, we all need to share and look after our stakeholders, which is us and the rest of the world, really.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, to be fair, JK, World Rugby have been very proactive around this. We were on a call as recently as this morning, and they're in a similar mode to what we all are at the moment, which is trying to understand a whole range of different scenarios across a broad range of stakeholders that they have, from some of the more established unions to those emerging unions, and getting a real sense of what they're going to have to do if they're going to become involved to support this. But at the moment, the dialogue's very positive and constructive, but like a lot of these conversations, we just need a little bit more time to play out what this might look like.
Robbo, Batesy here. Let's just say best case scenario, we nip COVID in the butt, and 6 to 8 weeks we're back on the rugby field and we're playing. What does the competition look like? Do we sort of stick within our franchises? Do we bring Mitre 10 a little bit forward? Can you give us any insight on what your thoughts are around that sort of process?
Yeah, it's a great question, Batesy, and it's a lot of it's very similar to some of the conversations we're having with a range of stakeholders. I guess the key thing in all that is when we actually get the green light to get back into it. And there's a whole range of possibilities as to what that might look like. It could be super. It could involve Mitre 10. All those things are up in the air at the moment and on the table. And we've got a team of people much more clever than I am around competition modelling and understanding windows and calendars and all this sort of thing, doing a fantastic job trying to come up with every possible scenario. And we know that's very, very difficult because we can't give any certainty at this time, but a hell of a lot of work's going into the background to make sure that when we do get the green light, and I agree with everyone on the show, the government's done an amazing job in showing leadership at this time, and in a certain way that has created left us with the best opportunity to get on the field earlier. As someone said earlier, if we're looking at a short turnaround to get through this and past COVID, then that obviously creates a great opportunity to be playing rugby all the more earlier.
By my count, Robbo, there's 13 test matches, though, to be played by the All Blacks. And if you miss that window, that mid-year window, are there opportunities? Is there a determination? Are there conversations going on with the other unions around the world about how you can possibly get those test matches played? Because we know how valuable those are, particularly financially, to our rugby union.
Yeah, I mean, it's early days there, Goldie, but I think the positive thing out of the call with World Rugby this morning, where a lot of national unions were represented, was a lot like New Zealand in actual fact. There's a recognition that we all have to pull together at this time. And there was a lot of positive dialogue and a lot of openness to considering all sorts of different opportunities for the remainder of the year. So, again, it's a bit of a familiar theme, sorry, and I apologise for not being able to give more certainty, but we'll just have to work through that in the next little while.
So, Robbo, what's exciting you the most? I mean, I'm thinking about, it doesn't really, with the rules outside the door, it doesn't matter if we go to Europe November, December, January, because that's their winter. We can go at any time. I mean, have you seen some stuff that just really excites you? Says, well, we are looking for solutions. This has come along. This could be a different way to look at the game.
Well, the most exciting thing, I guess, JK, is the fact that people are coming together and are really open and motivated to want to make rugby happen. So that's exciting across, all the different stakeholder groups across the country here and around the world. People know that this is a challenging time, and so people are hugely motivated to make things happen. What exact shape that takes at the moment, we're just not too sure. But yeah, those possibilities are there, as you say, playing a little bit later in this year. But again, when we work through that, we have to consult and work with a number of stakeholders to achieve that. We'll obviously, want to work hard with our players in that space and our clubs and our provincial unions. So again, it'll take a little bit of time, but the fact that so many people are so spirited and enthusiastic about making some stuff happen is pretty exciting.
So JK's talked about what excites you. Something that excites me is the National Jock Hobbs Under-19 tournament for personal reasons. Can you give us any assurance that will not be cancelled? It's quite a big deal for me personally, but can you give us any right now, or am I clutching at straws?
You are a little bit, Batesy. I mean, we're going through. We love a trier. So I mean, a whole lot of people are asking me a whole lot of questions and in that sort of space and a whole range of other areas, which is natural. But I mean, we're obviously looking very seriously at any expenditure at the moment. And the reality is, in our world at the moment, we have to cut a lot of expenditure to preserve our financial situation. And so therefore a lot of that sort of activity is certainly on hold for now.
So that brings me to my next question. Dane Coles was in the media talking about the fact that the players understand and aware of, well, he is in particular, the challenges New Zealand Rugby are going through right now, and he wants to be part of the solution. He talks about possible pay cuts for players, particularly a professional arm. So those conversations, of course, for the head of New Zealand Rugby Players Association will be Rob Nichol. How far down the track are you with him in terms of talking about, OK, protecting the future of it in New Zealand?
Well, Rob, like everyone else and the players themselves, are no different in the fact that we need to work through gathering all the possible information to be able to share with them so that we can all make sort of informed decisions at this time. So the last week or so has been spent simply doing that. We've started in the last couple of days to have some more detailed conversations with Rob. As I've said consistently through this, him and the players have been fantastic to deal with so far, very engaged, acknowledging, they have a part to play. But the detail of what that looks like, is still to be worked through. But I would say, it was really heartening to obviously, read Dane's comments. I thought he was, very measured the way he talked about the government and the leadership they've played and the fact that the country's got to work through this. It's great to have a leading player like that acknowledge the fact that this is a nationwide and a global issue and put some context around that, because certainly from New Zealand's standpoint, we know everyone's hurting in our country at the moment. We know communities are hurting, and we know, a lot of workplaces and businesses are hurting. So in the scheme of things, against that, sometimes rugby's obviously, not as significant, but at the same time, we feel we have a strong leadership role to play in providing, joy and excitement to a lot of people. And, our vision is to inspire and unify people. And we think we can do that if we can get back on the field and get people participating again in our communities and back engaged and loving the game.
Just lastly, obviously, you guys have got a job to do now. You're having to do that from home. Is that going to be able to work out? Are you going to be able to have the conversations you need to? Can you keep those communication lines up with all those key stakeholders over the next month so you can prepare and be ready for when the opportunity comes again?
Yeah, I think we are, Jeff. I mean, we've worked really hard. Our technology team's done an amazing job to get us set up. So, as I said earlier, I've spent a lot of time on Zoom these last few days, looking straight down the barrel of a screen and camera like I am now, and you become used to it, don't you? You become conditioned to it. We at times around some of our larger meetings with staff have in excess of 100 people on these sort of meetings, and a lot of our days are spent with a whole range of sizes of groups, communicating like this. So it takes a bit of getting used to. We've engaged with our provincial unions and super clubs in the last couple of weeks via this medium and webinars, and we've had 60 to 70 people online, done question answer sessions and given updates. So it's just the reality it's the new normal for a while, and we have to just adapt. And like everything else we're doing in the game at the moment, we have to be nimble, agile, innovative, and open to every possibility that sets out in front of us. And we just got to keep working on it and keep going, keep energised. As JK said at the start of the show, stay connected, and work really hard to ensure the game can come through this. And I believe it will.
And I think with you at the helm, Robbo, I know we've got the right man at the moment. You've got the team behind you. I misquoted last week. I said you had 4 months in the job. 7 weeks. 7 weeks. And this is what gets dished up to you, mate. Hang in there. I know you'll do a great job. Thanks so much, as always, for your time. And we'll catch up with you, hopefully, sooner rather than later.